I heard about Sovereign Treatment Center through my EAP, the Employer Assistance Program, where I work, and basically what had happened, I'd had several conversations with my boss about my weight issue, and she kind of gave me the green light to go ahead and do whatever I needed to do to get healthy. I tried so many different things. Finally, I went to our EAP counselor and I said, look, I have to do something because I'm getting really unhealthy, and my blood pressure, my blood sugars, everything. And so he knew some people at Sovereign, and he recommended, that I got to get in contact with a guy named Jeff in marketing. And Jeff and I met for coffee where I live, and then he told me, you set up an appointment for me to come and see one of the doctors and one of the intake people. When I first came, and I had a meeting. I had a meeting with a lady by the name of Val. I met with her, and I met with Dr. Markham. And Val was a lot more detailed, and we just talked about, why, what was going on in my life, and some of the things. And then, Dr. Markham was just kind of like a follow-up, and she just wanted to meet me and everything. With the actual program, when I got here and then I started, the first week was revolutionary in my thoughts about a lot of things, maybe about spirituality issues, but definitely about my relationship with food. I was happy that there's another guy already here. We became good friends, and it was nice to be able to identify with another guy who had similar issues to me, and he'd been further along than I had in some ways. And so when I got here, the first week totally changed my ideas and my mind. I remember the first few days, the morning meditation, I would say, I just really want to go home right now. I don't think this is a good fit for me. But by day 7, I think it was about a week after, I was like, oh my God, I hope I get to stay here for the next 3 years. So, because I was learning so much very, very quickly, and I knew it was going to take some time to sit in. The nutritionist, Deb, I have no complaints about anything with her, because she totally made me look differently at my relationship with food, but also I saw how my relationship with food spilled over into other areas of my life where I was very all or nothing, black or white. One of the things, she would paint a lot of pictures, give us metaphors, so that we would kind of bring our heads back to normal. And one of the metaphors that she had used was, okay, so you ate extra food last night, or you did this last night, so you had to binge, but just see it as a cup of water in a swimming pool. That cup of water is not going to make that swimming pool overflow, and you're not going to gain 5 pounds by one, overeating. And the thing is, just don't put any more water in the pool for a while. And it was very common sense. The other thing that she taught us that has really stuck with me is that there's no bad food. And I've been in other programs where they said that flour, sugar, and larger quantities, these were like one-size-fits-all programs. So it didn't matter what size you were, if you were male or female, you got a certain amount of food. And that I learned very quickly was kind of a ridiculous approach, that everybody has different needs. Deb treated us very much as individuals, and I really valued the time that I spent with her. That was the highlights, were my 30-minute sessions with her every week, and her groups, because there began to be a lot less guilt and shame with me and food from working with her. And then some of the things, again, like I said, that she taught me, I was able to put into other areas of my life, where I may binge on work, or binge on shopping, or do an alcohol binge or something. Um, and I learned that there's just a lot of gray area, and it's not all or nothing. So that was with Deb. She was very much the central point, I think. I had very good therapy sessions with Eric. It was very personalized. Dr. Cho did a great job with that. She brought my thoughts. We did things with real life situations, so it wasn't just, there was some theory and everything, but it wasn't everything applied to real life situations, so we could talk about what was going on in my life. And I found that really helpful. It helped me identify a lot of cognitive distortions, which I had no idea what that meant before. She helped me identify with the way that I was thinking. And then with therapy, with Eric, I was learning that you don't have to hold on to those thoughts. And there was one group we did with Mood Gym, and that started off really good, but it got kind of bad towards the end because it was just, it was so repetitive. But again, it was along the lines of the cognitive behavioral therapy and identifying the distortions and figuring out what to do with them and realizing that we're not our thoughts, and that we have power over what we do with our thoughts. One of the things that Eric had told me was, imagine that your thoughts are logs floating down a stream and you're at the edge of the stream, and those logs are going to go all the way down the stream. And I added at the end that, okay, yeah, there's a waterfall at the end. And he says, and that's exactly why you don't want to get on all those logs. And the good logs, the good thoughts, you can grab onto those and bring those in and let the other ones just pass. And when you start being able to do that, your behaviors and actions and your feelings start to change also. So they were really important for me. The medical doctor, Dr. Snyder, that was revolutionary for me. I've never had a doctor who seemed to care so much about me as a person, especially not a medical doctor. And he was very, he's blunt. He was to the point sometimes, but I appreciated that. He spent time meditating with me, and I think the first time that I met him, I spent an hour with him, and the last time that I met with him, I had about an hour with him also. And these were very, very valuable times. He taught me the value of meditation and slowing things down, and visualizing things, and that our place in the universe, that we all have different functions, but it doesn't make one person better or worse than another. And we all have different issues and problems and this and that, but again, it's not about good and bad, it's about, that we're all part of the universe. And at the same time, he was taking care of my physical health and making sure that I was getting the right medication and for the high blood pressure that I had when I came in, and also for pre-diabetic condition and metabolic syndrome. Then the exercise, we went to the gym, 3 times a week, and I am not somebody who likes the gym a whole lot, but going with other people, first of all, made it a lot better, a lot more fun, and also just realizing after I'd exercised that my moods had elevated, that I was feeling a lot calmer, a lot better in my head, a lot less depressed. I think what is good about suffering is that there's so many different kinds of people and so many different kinds of groups. They all care, even the ones that I may have not gelled with as much. They all care, and I got to give kudos to Robin. She works extremely hard, and she's very knowledgeable, and she helps put my mind at ease. And when I needed papers done, and I needed stuff done for my medical leave of absence or the retirement board, so I could get my medical insurance money and stuff, she got onto it immediately. And when I had other questions, so she was extremely responsive. So Dr. Cho is definitely one of my favorite people. She made my groups very relevant. And she was always available, if, particularly because my therapist was only here 3 days a week, that if I wasn't able to speak to Eric and I needed to talk to somebody before he would come back, particularly on Fridays, Dr. Cho always made herself available. And I don't even like art therapy, and I had a choice between going to art therapy or yoga, but because Dr. Cho was doing the art therapy group, I went to that group. So, and I really enjoyed the yoga group. Bree is really, really good, and she makes you feel good about yourself. I'm not the most flexible person physically, but she did yoga for everybody at everybody's level. So there were some people who could do all sorts of positions and turn themselves into pretzels, and then there were those of us who were a little more challenged. And she helped me see that my limitations were, in a large part, my brain, what I thought I could do or couldn't do. And when I started letting go of some of the limitations, I surprised myself at some of the things that I could do in the yoga group. Dr. Markham, I appreciate the care and the concern, and her administrative skills in running this place are very good. And how she stays professional all the time, I don't know, because there's sometimes when she must just want to scream at people and wring their necks, but she's always kept a very professional demeanor. And then I appreciate the advice that she's given me. If somebody was planning on coming to Sovereign and they weren't sure what to expect, I would give them advice. The first piece of advice would be to relax and to relax and accept. I don't want to get all 12-step on everybody, but you have to accept that there is an issue, whether it be an eating disorder or a substance abuse issue or depression, and that oftentimes these issues have other issues attached to them. And just know that you're in good hands, and if you're ready to be honest, open, willing. Honest means that you tell your therapist the truth. That was a little difficult for me sometimes because I thought that maybe the therapist didn't want to hear this or didn't want to hear that, but my therapist put me at ease that whatever the truth was, I didn't have to sugarcoat things. I didn't have to make things sound better than they were, or worse than they were either. And then you have to be open-minded. I had my eyes open to a lot of different things I never would have thought of, such as yoga and meditation. I never would have thought of those as coping techniques. And so you just got to be willing for that. And you also got to know that it's going to get worse before it gets better. But it's not a bad worse, because there are people who are going to support you, whether it be your housemates, who I found I got a lot of support from my housemates, and I've made some friends here who I'm sure I will be friends with forever. So whether it's support from that or support from the doctors and clinicians and the administrative staff and the staff here and the house managers. So in your head it's gonna be really uncomfortable, especially when you're telling the truth and you're looking at things for the first time, maybe ever, or for the first time in many, many years. But know that this place, they want you as a whole person. Again, I can't overemphasize the holistic approach that was presented to me very quickly too in the first week, and how it made me really think of myself more as a whole person rather than this person who eats too much and is fat, or this person who hates going to the gym and exercising or something, or this person who has no spiritual connections, which is pretty much how I saw myself before I came here. So other advice is you're going to have a lot of different personalities and you're not going to get along with everybody. And it's okay. You don't have to like everybody, and not everyone's going to like you either. So And that's probably difficult to accept because as addicts and people with disorders, we want everybody to like us because that's where we get our validation from. Coming to the understanding that that's just not going to happen, and being able to just breathe or just live with it, cope with it. I got a lot from that. I got a lot with living with people who reminded me of people on the outside, and drove me crazy. But I was in a safe place where, instead of before where I would just ignore them or run away, I was able to go through those issues. And so again, you just persevere and be honest, open, willing.